Most dentists and doctors, as well as all other small business owners, miscalculate the amount of money they need to make in return after the advertising. Let me explain. So let's just say you advertise a $1,000. How much do you then need to make in order to at least cover your advertising cost and everything else, and having a break even from which point on you can make money? This amount is by most dentists, we're consulting dentists for 35 years, miscalculated. And the miscalculation leads to this. They then will not advertising because they simply believe it's too expensive. It takes too much to make a return. Based on their calculation, they didn't make any money. And then they, of course, give up. We have been, all of us, indoctrinated from school, parents, and whatever, not to waste money. Too many business people work on a percentage. You need to make this and this type of percentage. However, let me go into details. Which way most of you dentists, doctors, and small business owners make their calculations, and why it is wrong. Now, in most cases, most of us, including me, we miscalculate the effort it takes to do something. That may be the money spent, the time spent, the energy spent, the knowledge needed, whatever it may be, and we miscalculate it in an amount too little. So basically, almost everything in life I do takes longer, costs more, blah, blah, blah. And at the very beginning, brings basically less return. It would be the most easy thing to give up then, when you pull through, most of the time, the results, the gains, the profits, whatever you wanted to achieve, is actually larger than you expect before. Let me give you a small example on a personal, private thing. The first, 4, 5, 6, 7 years, my marriage was surely harder and tougher than I actually expected a marriage to be. It was. 35 years later, the beauty and the results of how the marriage turned out to be is much better than what I ever expected from a marriage. Now, you might think, what does marriage and business have to do with it? Everything. The way we think, the way we operate, the way, we kind of go about our day affects all areas of life, and usually they are very connected. We have a certain thinking. Okay. But nevertheless, in this case, the way I'm trying to explain to now, most businesses think they need to make too much money back. Basically, they overestimate the expense as being more than it really is. So let me explain. So let's just assume you're a dentist, and we're talking about dentists here because that is our main clientele for 35 years. Yes, we have consulted all kinds of doctors, of course, and also all kinds of other business, including oil companies, people who make books, people who sell books, people who make clothes, people who manufacture metal and plastic, and name it and name it. But dentists is where we have started with, have made our mark, and basically it's what we might call our bread and butter. Now, let's assume you're a dentist and you have a profit margin of 25%. I gotta use some number, and some doctors will have a profit margin of 40, 50% and whatever, and some might have less. Okay, keep in mind that on an average, the profit margin has to do with how much business you take in. It's usually not that the business has a profit margin of, let's say, less than 20%. Let's say it has 10% for you. It's usually not that that's because of the business. That's because you usually are not efficient enough and have the amount of business you need. Would you have a lot more business, your profit margin would go up. Now, let's, however, for this calculation, use 25%, and you can adjust it the way you want to. Now, what 25% profit margin, that's how most people calculate. They need to then make 4 times the amount of money they spend in advertising. So let's assume you advertise $1,000, 25% profit margin. Out of this, you need to make $4,000 to make the $1,000 back. This would be a miscalculation. This is not correct. Let me explain. In order for a dentist to deliver his business, and let's, at this moment, make it a dentist who is a solo practitioner. He doesn't pay any other dentist. He does pay a receptionist. He does pay financial advisor, whatever. I mean, a person who makes financial arrangement, whatever, 1 or 2 receptionists, and he has 1 or 2 assistant, maybe a hygienist, whatever. So he does literally all the dentistry. Let's go with that because the calculation is a little bit different if you have a doctor to pay. On an average, the lab work is about 15 to 20%. For some procedures like a root canal, gum disease, it isn't even that high. And for some, it may be higher, and it depends on what lab you take. Again, use your own numbers if the 20% doesn't suit you. But have a look at really what it is, because very often everybody thinks it is this expensive or that without really knowing it. But 20%. So if a patient comes in and he spends $1,000 with you, about $20, $200 goes for providing the work besides of the physical work from the people, you and the assistant, but they already paid. Besides of the mortgage you have to pay, or the rent you have to pay, besides of the loans you have to pay for your equipment, besides of the malpractice insurance and all kinds of other insurances, besides of the electricity, blah, 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 the waste, the disposal and all that. All that doesn't actually change by nada if you get one more patient coming in. Eventually that will change, but let's just take that one more patient to come in, or that $1,000 to come in. It changes nothing. There's almost no dentist in the world I have consulted in the last 30-some years where there couldn't be a fair amount, 20, 30, 50, 60, sometimes 200 or 300% more production coming out of the same crew. Period. Now, that means 20%. So if you take in $1,000 and you spend only $200, you actually only need to make $1,200 in collection. $200 goes for the lab fee, $1,000 goes for your advertising fee, which you spend to get that guy in order to make it even, which is a very huge difference from thinking you have a 25% profit margin and you basically need to do times 4. Or some doctors only have a 20% profit margin and they go times 5. Times 4 would be $4,000 to just kind of like make a break even. Big difference, even though, yes, if you do marketing relative correct, if you do our style of an advertising marketing, and if you think this is a marketing video for myself where I try to sell you something, then you're 1,100% absolutely correct. Of course, it is. So, because here's the thing, just like with periodontal, without the freaking treatment, it doesn't go away. Neither do the toothaches. You can make whatever evaluation you can do and examination and tell the patient whatever, and he can agree to it. If he doesn't sit in the chair and get treatment, he usually doesn't get better. And if you think it is any different with you doctors, well, look, the exceptions to the rule, yes. The rest, 99.9% or whatever the hell, absolutely positively not. Okay? You need treatment. You need to have somebody guiding you step by step through. On those points, on those flashpoints I make like this one here, yes, I do believe I say important and good things. And yes, you can implement them. But first of all, there are thousands of them. They don't necessarily apply to you. Some do, some don't. Some apply in a slightly different way. It is impossible to actually get them all. Here's the thing. If you want to change your practice, your income, if you want to change your life, you need to change your mind. You need to change the way you think, not change your advertising agency of like Facebook or Google or and somebody who does that better and somebody who knows that good. Let me tell you something. Google, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter now and whatever, they tell us how and what to do anyway. Very easy to learn, especially if you have a little hint and a little knack on it. And there are people around the world who do that so enormously cheap from other countries because it's just the mechanics on following what Google tells them to do. There is no other freaking choice you are having. And anybody who sells any different is well, it's just taking you for a ride. Hmm. Where the trick is not in using those things. Yeah, there is some knowledge to it, but as I said, there are thousands and thousands of people out there who work for 5, 6, 10, 12, $15 an hour, um, and do it like very, very fast and don't spend a lots of time on it. But the trick is in the message and in the whole type of thing. Back to this message. There's a huge difference between needing $4,000 back or needing $1,200 back. Can you see that getting $1,200 back is a lot easier? And then let's say 2,000 or 3,000, and if you do make it to 4,000, which you will, all of a sudden you're running in a profit. All of a sudden, $1,000 advertising can become 2,000 advertising, can become 3,000, can become 5,000. Let me ask you this. Do you really give a hoot whether you spend $50,000 a month in advertising or whether you don't spend $50,000 in advertising if the $50,000, let's just say, makes you net income $50,000 or $70,000 more than you now make? Would you care? Would you care? Maybe you say, well, I would first have to see to believe it. I would have to. Well, you gotta to see it to believe it only by going through it and doing it. Everything else, again, is hearsay from somebody else who maybe did, maybe didn't, blah, 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 blah. You know, you need to learn your way through it and do it. But it's obviously, the question is only this. If you could produce, way more with the advertising money you put in than you put in your pocket after other expenses are paid, would that be a good thing? That's all. Okay, so I hope this helped you a little bit. We do 1 hour kind of consultations. Most of the time I do them. Not always, but very often actually, especially lately again. I'm kind of like freed myself up. I just got myself an event center and I don't know, I get into so much more energy. I love it so much more. So we do these evaluations to see whether we can help you. If we think we can help you, if there is actually something there, trust you me, we will try to do everything to get you on board right there and then, because that is in the end the only way you can possibly be helped. Okay, good. Have a check, because even if we cannot beat you enough over the head and sign you up, even though we believe we could help you, you will still have loved the consultation because you will have, for your practice, gotten a few pointers like this one now on how and what, and you may be on the way to start changing your way of thinking, which will in the end then change your lifestyle. By the way, when we consult people, it isn't only about making more money, even though that is relatively on the forefront, but it's about having more free time. I have seen hundreds, thousands of doctors who are around the age of 40, 45, give or take, whatever, some much earlier, some a little later, would love to do other things also rather than dentistry. Doesn't mean they want to give up dentistry, no. They just would like to also do other things. What those other things is very, very different to many of them. Some of them just want to do more work, some other work. They want to do more teaching in some other countries maybe. Or some of them just want to lay more on the beach. Whatever it is, it doesn't really matter. People want, basically, there is no purpose in life to make money without having actually time to spend it the way you would like to it. So I know lots of people who have lots of time on their hand, but no money to do much. I also know lots of people who have lots of money on their hand, lots of good business, but no time to spend it. Unfortunately, I also know quite a bunch of doctors out there with this in this 35 years, which have neither time, need money, and basically just struggling. And let me tell you something. It's not the mechanics which fails you. It's your thinking, and you better change it. And yes, it may take some time, half a year, to actually reach double, tripling the business or whatever it may be. But go find out what basically can be done. Okay? What basically can be done. Bye-bye.